The Patriot flashlight is freaking awesome. Why? Because it has a bright-ass, forward-facing flashlight, multi-flashing modes. You can hang this thing on your refrigerator or any metal surface. It's got an LED shop light with super bright LED emergency flashers. It's got a hammer, a super sharp seatbelt cutter, a compass, and if you need to charge your cell phone, it can handle that too. And one of the best things is you'll never need batteries because it's powered by the sun. So grab one or two for your friends and family, and I guarantee it'll be one of the best gifts they ever got from you. The link with my coupon code is in the description. This video by CNN, where Mike Smerconish asked Matt Gaetz some pretty fair questions, highlights the stark difference between freedom and tyranny. You're either free to do whatever you want to your own body, or you're not. You're free to buy whatever you want, ingest whatever you want, grow whatever you want, and sell whatever you want, or you're not. Anybody, and I mean anybody, who wants to use the monopoly on force and violence of the state to make you do something against your will or prohibit you from doing something against your will, no matter the reason, is a tyrant and is your enemy. Period. If you don't agree with that, don't just hit the dislike button and tuck tail and run. Stick around and defend your position with truth and logic. Now let's go through this interview.
This week, for the first time in history, a congressional committee voted to end the federal prohibition of marijuana. It was on Wednesday. The House Judiciary Committee voted in favor of the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or MORE Act, which would remove the drug from the Controlled Substances Act. Currently, cannabis is a Schedule I drug in the same category as LSD and heroin.
Now, while this would be a good step forward, it's still not freedom. That we are collectively allowing psychopaths in government to make decisions for us on whether or not they're going to punish us if we possess plant matter or not is insane.
The MORE Act would also require the expungement of federal marijuana convictions and includes a 5% tax on cannabis products to establish a fund to help treat substance abuse.
Okay, releasing people for non-violent crimes is good, but it's immoral that they were ever caged and fined in the first place. Seems like nobody stops to realize how many lives have been ruined and extinguished during drug prohibition. And they always have to throw in that extortion fee. Here, you can have marijuana, little Johnny, but that'll be 5% tax.
The bill now moves to additional committee for vetting. Although it's unclear how successful it will be once it passes to the Republican-controlled Senate, the bill received bipartisan support in the House Judiciary Committee, passing 24-10, with the support of 2 Republican congressmen voting with the Democratic majority.
Everybody with 2 brain cells to rub together knows that Democrats are insane. But they're absolutely right to decriminalize weed. If the Republicans bristle at this, hopefully conservative-minded people will realize the insanity is firmly rooted on both sides of the aisle.
My next guest voted in favor of the bill, which paves the way to legalize marijuana federally. With me now is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Hey, Matt, do you see this as a conservative issue, individual liberty and states' rights and so forth?
I do, Michael. Federal prohibition against marijuana has not worked. It has impaired research, and it has stopped our states from being able to unlock cures. I was curious that one of my Republican colleagues said the federal government was rushing into marijuana reform, yet we have 47 states who have some version of a marijuana program. And right now, federal policy functions as a wet blanket over the type of innovation and investment that could allow marijuana to improve people's lives around the country.
Now, I don't disagree with what he said, but it's not about prohibition not working. It's that it's immoral, because no man has the right to prohibit another man from putting what he wants to in his own body. That's the issue.
So are you an island, or do you see Republican colleagues, particularly in the Senate, not in the House, as maybe coming to the same mindset as Matt Gaetz?
Well, unfortunately, the game you watch in Congress is not necessarily the game being played.
Let's listen to that again, just in case you missed it.
Well, unfortunately, the game you watch in Congress is not necessarily the game being played.
That's no revelation to us. If only the rest of America would realize that what Gaetz says here is 100% true. It is a game. Just like we've said, it's a show. It's a WWE dog and pony bread and circuses under the big top show, where they put on this huge show for the audience and do something entirely different behind the curtain. So you're going to continue voting now?
Though we moved legislation out of the Judiciary Committee, marijuana reform remains in peril for this reason. We have divided the movement where there are a lot of libertarians who traditionally would support marijuana reform, not because they support marijuana, but because they support the liberty and 10th Amendment themes that you identified in the open of this segment.
Yeah, that's the mindset of everybody who understands individual liberties.
However, some of the elements of the House bill that contain restorative justice, plowing money into communities that have been impacted by the war on drugs, that can offend the libertarian sensibilities of some of my Senate colleagues. And so we remain, I think, still very far apart, which is so frustrating because, as your platform demonstrates, a vast majority of the country wants to see sensible marijuana reform. And because we're going to fight about how much of the money is going to go into traditionally communities that have been impacted by the war on drugs, we may be the cow that starves equidistant between two haystacks because we can't figure out which one to move toward first.
While part of that is well said, it doesn't matter in the slightest how many Americans want weed legalized. The question is it moral or immoral to force a man against his will and without his consent to comply with the edicts of the state in regard to what he can put into his own body? The answer is simple. It's absolutely immoral. And it doesn't matter if the majority is for or against immorality. Moral people don't do or demand others to do immoral things. Now listen to this. This is really interesting.
Kellyanne Conway was a guest of mine months ago, and she was here in her role as the White House drug coordinator. We were focused on opioids. And I raised this subject with her in the context of an opioid discussion. I want to show you just a snippet of what she said to me.
For all the folks who talk about the benefits and the legality of marijuana, there are many health professionals and employers increasingly concerned that this is not your grandfather or your father's marijuana. The TCH components are much stronger. We just can't say it's all good for all people at this moment. We're very concerned about the effect on the brain among young people.
Conway, while loved by many conservatives, just revealed that she doesn't give a damn about your individual liberties. She and her administration will force you to comply with their marijuana laws. If you don't comply, you'll be punished. And it doesn't matter about the concentration of THC. That's a smokescreen used as a justification to keep people safe by initiating force and violence on them by the barrel of a government gun. Therefore, she's just as much of a tyrant as Schiff or Pelosi or Schumer or all the rest.
I was raising with her, Matt, the prospect that legalized marijuana is an alternative to those who are opioid addicted. I didn't seem to be gaining her support. Here's my question, because you are a Trump whisperer. How does this play with the big guy, and have you had the conversation?
I have worked to be a positive influence with the president on marijuana reform. To my friend Kellyanne Conway, I would say, okay, boomer. I mean, that's a very boomer approach to marijuana for no other reason that it's actually THC, not TCH. And I think that her reflection shows a real ignorance to the science demonstrating that in states where there are marijuana programs, you see a reduction in Schedule I drug recommendations. You also see a reduction in the types of overdoses that are crippling our country and hollowing out America. And so I think that if we have a lower acuity anti-pain alternative to heroin and opioids, then I think that you'll see the country do a lot better. And it's just like, this is not an issue that young people are fighting about. This is largely generational more than it is partisan, because I think more and more young people in the country are saying, like, look, let's just go ahead and let people live better lives with a more natural alternative that has a lower propensity for addiction.
Yep, Gaetz is absolutely right. And yet, he continues to work for an administration that, just like the Obama administration and the Bush administration before it, and Clinton and all the rest, they don't give a damn about your freedom. They just want to control you and extract money from you. So Gaetz, while he somewhat has a mind of liberty on this, continues to play the game against his conscience. And you cannot change any evil party by becoming a part of the evil.
Final question. Do you have any reason to believe that you can win President Trump's support on this issue, legalization at the federal level of marijuana?
President Trump is no fan of marijuana, but I think that he made commitments about medical marijuana in his 2016 campaign that we still need to fulfill. Fortunately, Attorney General Barr is in the rulemaking process now, so we can accelerate approvals for research. That is the key. If we can get more research into the types of ailments where marijuana can be helpful, I think that that will accelerate the pressure on Congress to join the country and join the 47 states that are working for our constituents.
To which I would say, screw Congress, screw the president, and screw every tyrant who wants to control us. They don't give a damn about you, and this makes it very, very clear. Like and share this video and leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below. And I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.